So I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail about the specific application requirements. This will focus around kind of finance, risk, project team, project partners, and policies. So first of all, just on the screen is a list of the various documents that you will need to submit as part of your application. As you can see, there's a number of different documents. So when you complete your application on FlexiGrant, there will be application questions that you need to complete and answer online on FlexiGrant itself. And there will be other requirements where you may need to download a template or upload a file to meet the requirement. So here on the left, I'll just run through some of the key supporting documents that you will need to upload to FlexiGrant in addition to completing the questions on the application form. So first of all, there'll be a project budget that you need to complete. There is an Ocean budget template available on FlexiGrant, so please download this and make sure that you use the correct budget template when completing your project budget and uploading this onto FlexiGrant. We also have a work plan template available from the Ocean FlexiGrant site, and please make sure to use this template as well when completing your project work plan. A risk register template is also available, and this includes a risk register and a delivery chain map that will need to be completed as part of the application process. And then two different versions of the log frame template, a Word and an Excel version, are both available on FlexiGrant as well. Please use either version, whichever you feel more comfortable with. We have got both versions in Word and Excel available for you to use, so please decide which one you would like to use there. In addition to these four templates, we are also asking projects to submit a theory of change. And this there's no specific template for this. We're open to projects designing and developing their own theory of change. We understand that it can be quite hard to align your theory of change to a specific template. So there's no template for this. This is for you to develop yourselves. All projects will also need to provide a letter of support from each partner as part of their project. There's no template for this as well, and you will need to submit all of the partner letters of support as a single PDF file. You will be required to submit one-page CVs for each member of your project team. And again, this needs to be uploaded as a single PDF, so merging all of the CVs together and uploading one single file. And these do need to be 1 page long, and it may result in your application being rejected if you upload lots of CVs that are multiple pages. So please do try and stick to the page limit requirements here. In terms of the financial accounts, we ask all applicants to the partnership grants to provide at least 3 sets of signed, audited, or independently verified accounts as evidence of your annual income and organisation's operations over the past 3 years. And then we also require organisations to submit a copy, well, the lead organisations submit a copy of their safeguarding policy, along with their whistleblowing policy, code of conduct, gender equality and social inclusion policy, and equal opportunities / diversity policy. And then finally, there is room for you to be able to provide additional material. So this isn't optional, this isn't required, but there is an opportunity for you to share up to 5 pages of A4 of additional supporting material that is there to supplement your application. This might be items such as a map or a list of references or any other kind of supporting material that you feel could help support your application. But please be aware, you cannot submit more than 5 pages with your application, otherwise it may result in your application being rejected as well. So please limit and make sure that you are meeting the page limit requirements here too. So I'm just going to talk a little bit more about some of the specific areas of the application process. So I'm going to start with some finance related points. So on the screen here, you can see some different budget areas, and I just want to explain a little bit more about some of these budget areas to help with the development of your project budget. So first of all, we're going to talk about staff costs. So staff cost budget line should capture all costs and payments for services relating to named individuals working on the project. So this might include items such as salary payments to team members or would be items such as social security or national insurance for team members who are employed by the lead or partner organisations and are key members of the project team. When you do this, you must provide the information of the individual that is going to form the team. So that includes kind of their name, their role in the project, their location, and the percentage of their time that they will be working on the project during the project period. And then this would also include the actual cost to Ocean and to the project in terms of how much each project member of staff is going to cost. Looking at overhead costs, sorry, just to also add, so the project leader is normally expected to spend a minimum of 10% on the project. This is because the project leader is seen as a very crucial role for the project, and we would expect that this is the minimum amount of time that they can be involved in the project and still lead activities and implementation of activities. So all project leaders would be expected to have at least 10% of their time allocated to the project within the budget lines. So overhead costs. So Ocean will fund actual direct project costs, but also reasonable and justifiable overhead costs related to the project. However, we won't subsidise other activities of organisations. So with that in mind, Ocean has set a maximum proportion of total overheads claimed can be up to 20% of the project's total budget. So, for example, if your project totals £100,000, then you would be eligible to apply for up to £20,000 of overheads as part of your application. The other thing to consider is just that we also expect project overhead costs to be proportionate to the size of the organisation. And so you need to keep in mind that in any given year, the total level of overheads that you are claiming cannot be greater than 40% of the total staff costs that you are claiming for that year. So again, just an example of that, if you're claiming £100,000 worth of staff costs in year one, then you would be able to claim up to £40,000 worth of overheads in that year, but you wouldn't be able to claim any more than that. If in year two, your staff costs reduce to £50,000, then we'd be expecting you to claim a maximum of £20,000 worth of overheads in that year. But you need to just make sure that then adding on that level doesn't take you over the total 20% of the project's total budget. So do keep in mind these two requirements. Further, more detailed information on this is available in the finance guidance. So please do take a look through that and kind of review in detail. But the main point really to keep in mind is that the maximum proportion of total overheads claimed can be up to 20% of the project's total budget. So capital costs, these are long life, high value items, which may include vehicles, large pieces of equipment and other assets items that were expected to have a lifespan of longer than the period of funding for the project. So things like small vehicles or motorbikes or key other pieces of large equipment that will be supporting a project would fall under this. And purchases of capital items should be in line with the agreed budget and will typically occur early in the project budget as well. So we do expect capital items are likely to be spent in the first year probably of each project, given that the idea is that these are purchased to support project activities. The key point that you should be aware of is that capital costs should be no more than 10% of the total grant. So please do keep this in mind when developing your project budget. And factor this into the development of any activities and costs. The other thing to be aware of is that any capital items bought from project funds will need to be recorded on an inventory list throughout the project and periodically updated throughout the implementation of your project. Consultancy and other costs. So you must make sure to provide adequate detail here to what these entail. We do allow consultancy costs and other costs. So for consultancy, to fill gaps where staff costs may not, project staff may not meet the required experience or skills to implement the project, and you may need to seek additional consultancy services to support the implementation of the project, or other costs where you don't feel that project costs fall into any of the other headings within the project budget, then you can put these costs into this category. But please do just make sure to provide that level of detail so we can understand why you're claiming these costs and how they're relevant to the implementation of your project. Foreign exchange, so all budgets need to be presented in GBP or British pounds, and the lead organisation is expected to manage the exchange rate fluctuation. You may be asked periodically how you've calculated your exchange rate for the project, so please try and make sure that you are using an appropriate method for calculating this, and that you are recording what exchange rate you are using periodically in case there is a request to check on your project in terms of the exchange rate that you are using. And then finally, your budget must not include contingency costs. We expect all projects to try and budget accurately, and to not have to include contingency costs. If anything happens during the project and you do need to make amendments to your budget, there is a process that we can go through called a change request process during the project implementation that would allow you to adapt project budget pending on approval and from either ourselves or from DEFRA, but you can't include contingency costs in your project budget, so please do not include these. Audit costs. So lead organisations need to be able to provide independent financial assurances that their grants have been spent in accordance with the terms of the grant agreement. As part of this, projects are able to claim up to £3,000 in the last financial year of their budget to cover any necessary audit costs. So just looking at the table here, both for £100,000 to £599,999, you would be expected to complete an independent audit at the end of the project. And that's the same for also more than £600,000. You would also be expected to conduct an audit at project end. The main difference between these two levels is that if you're applying for more than £600,000, you would be expected to submit an independent examination of the grant on an annual basis. But please factor this in when developing your budget, that you can claim up to £3,000 for audits in the last year of your project, and this is a requirement that you will need to complete. If you are planning this, but it's not going to be covered by Ocean funding, maybe you've got match funding, then that's okay. But please do just try and highlight that this is why this has not been included in your project budget. Match funding. So we do, all projects are allowed to secure match funding as part of their project, and it can be a good way to kind of scale activities further outside of what is available to apply for from Ocean. When you are completing your application form, you will be asked on FlexiGrant to indicate whether you have secured project match funding, and if you have those arrangements either secured or pending secure. And so you will need to just detail this within the application form, and there will also be in the project budget form opportunity to share information about any match funding that you've secured or plan to secure. When completing this information, please do ensure that all dates of any match funding are eligible and match your project dates. These need to align and need to correspond and align together. For match funding, the percentage should be of the total project cost, not compared to the Ocean request. So for example, if the Ocean percent of the total project cost is 70%, then match funding is 30%. And large percentage of match funding unsecured is risky, so we do ask you to try and outline how you manage this if it is not secured. So as you can see on the screen, the question on FlexiGrant here does ask you if you've secured the match funding that you're highlighting in your project budget, And if you haven't secured this yet, there is a section for you to allow you to clarify how you deliver the project if you do not manage to secure the match funding. So please do take opportunity to describe here how you will manage your project without the match funding and kind of mitigate any risks around not securing match funding. Just to note on risk, you should make sure that you are considering financial risks and threats to your project when developing your budget. So various financial risks to be aware of, such as fraud, bribery, money laundering, corruption, misappropriation of funds, exchange rate fluctuations, and recruitment delays, leading to shift in timescales. So please do try and factor these all into the development and design of both your project and your project budget. And also, there is scope for you to develop and record and highlight any key risks to your project within the risk register that we'll just touch upon in a second. And then just some general tips on finance. So your budget summary on FlexiGrant, you'll be requested as one of the first few questions to highlight kind of a budget summary so that we can see an overall expectation of what you'll be requesting as a grant from Ocean, but then you will also be expected to complete a more detailed project budget. These two sections need to match, so please do make sure to check your budget summary on FlexiGrant and your project budgets that you are submitting and uploading as a supporting document to make sure that they are aligned. It is good to see a significant proportion of funds going directly to host country partners or costs. We don't have a specified amount for this, but as part of the ethos and objective of Ocean, we are aiming to support projects that work with partners in host countries or in the country of operation. And so we do expect to see a reasonable amount of percentage of funds going directly to host countries or to projects or partners working in the same country as the project. Make sure to consider budget spread across financial years. So when you complete your budget, you'll be requested to input your yearly anticipated spend alongside the UK government financial years. So that runs from 1st of April to 31st of March each year. So please do make sure that you are considering that spread of funding across those financial years. And just a final note is that the percentage of funds that you can spend on M&E tends to be between 5 and 10%, but further information is available on this in the finance guidance, along with all various bits of information. So please do make sure to read into this guidance further. So risk management, as part of your application process, you will need to submit a risk register. The risk register has an area for you to be able to log key risks that you may see with your project, and also to be able to highlight and record risks against your delivery chain risk map. When completing your risk register, it is mandatory to identify and record at least one fiduciary, safeguarding, delivery chain and JESI risk at a minimum, but we do expect you to have additional risks across the various risk categories when completing this risk register. And just highlighted on the screen is the 7 different risk categories that you can highlight risk against. So it's contextual, delivery, gender equality and social inclusion, safeguarding, operational, fiduciary or financial, and reputational. So we expect organisations to really think about their risk management approach and to highlight key risks against these different categories and record these in the risk register as part of the application process. Risk management is also a continuous process that will happen throughout the duration of the project. So this is an important first step, but it will continue throughout implementation of your project, and there will be times where you're expected to update and report against this risk register if you are successful with securing a grant. Project team. So 1-page CVs are required for the project team. These are to be recorded on FlexiGrant, and then all CVs are to be merged into one PDF file and uploaded together on FlexiGrant as a supporting document. you should try and include all CVs for named staff, but if you haven't recruited specific roles yet, then we will accept terms of references or job descriptions of those team members, so that there's still possibility for you to highlight a critical role for the delivery of the project, but without having identified or recruited someone for that position yet. Do make sure to tailor CVs so that it's really clear what skills and experience that the project staff that you're presenting have relevant to implement the project. The expert committee, when conducting their assessments of applications, will consider project teams. So do try and make sure that you're presenting relevant information here. You must also relate the CVs presented to the budget table. So within the budget, it will ask, as mentioned, for roles and names of people, and that should correspond to all of the names detailed in the application form and the CVs that are submitted. And try not to submit too many teams with to be confirmed posts or pen portraits. Detailed terms of references or job descriptions will be more valuable in the sense of understanding what those roles are if you haven't recruited individuals yet for those positions. And this just gives an example of how you will be asked the question on FlexiGrant. So here you can see that you'll be asked to submit the name of the individual, their role, the percentage of time that they expected to spend on the project. And if you want, you can submit a short pen profile of the individual. For the project leader, this is mandatory, given that this is a crucial role for the project. We would like to see just a short overview of their skills alongside a CV. And then there is scope for you to add additional members of the project team as you go through the application form. Make sure that you do have a CV or job description or terms of reference for everyone named on this section. And that it does match the project budget, and there's scope to list up to 12 individuals. If you need more space than 12, then please upload a table with a list of individuals and then attach CVs as part of that attachment. Project partners. So something to keep in mind is that whether someone that you've identified to be a partner on the project is a formal partner or a stakeholder. So in terms of a partner, they are identified as having explicit project governance role on the project, whereas a stakeholder is someone who may be involved but not actually part of delivering activities or not really having part of that governance role of the project. When detailing partners, it's really helpful to have clear evidence of buy-in from partners, and that can be provided through provision of letters of support from those partners, and I'll just touch upon what needs to be included on those in the next slide. And it's important that listed partners actually truly reflect partnerships. So making sure that they are critical to project delivery and involved in project management or decision making. And it's good to have evidence of support from the eligible country government where possible. As if you're able to partner with them, then great, but do be aware that host country government or government agencies or cannot receive funding from Ocean, so they would need to be partners in kind. But we do encourage you to try and engage with, consult, and where possible, partner in kind with host country government. So letters of support. So for each partner that needs to be that you're including in your project, you need to upload at least one letter of support for each of those partners. So we do advise trying to avoid template letters of support, because from our point of view, we want the partners to be able to kind of share key information, and it's hard to describe kind of templates around those, because you want to be able to have scope for them to share information on a case-by-case or partnership basis. And strong letters of support are expected to include the following elements. So the extent to which partners have been involved in the development of the proposal, an outline of how the proposed work aligns with organizational priorities and the priorities of the country, information on the capacity of partners to support the project, specify actual levels of support, so any matched funding your organization is proposing, either financially or in kind. And these letters need to be in English, but we would accept translated versions without kind of formal certifications. So You will need to just make sure that you provide one letter of support for each partner that you're identifying in your project application. And this needs to be uploaded as one combined PDF. So please merge them all together and upload one PDF file for all of the different letters of support. Then just the last slide for me. All organisations will need to upload a copy of various different policies as part of the application process and requirements. So highlighted on the screen are the 5 key policies that you'll be required to submit and alongside your application. So this is the safeguarding policy, including safeguarding against sexual exploitation, abuse and harassment, your whistleblowing policy, code of conduct, gender equality and social inclusion policy, and equal opportunities/diversity policy. And again, you just need to upload these as a PDF file, and please upload one file per each policy highlighted.